Hello and welcome back to the lab. Today on the bench we have some more Q&A, questions from a viewer. I got asked the question of linear or switch mode power supplies, which one's the best? Trying to type that up into an email, there's a lot to cover on that topic, and there's a lot to unpack there, so I figured that would it would make a better video. So here we are. That's a debate that has raged for quite some time. And in engineering, the best answer I can give, or the most accurate answer I can give, would be, it depends. And that is wildly unhelpful. So, to talk about that and unpack it a little bit is, the question needs to be addressed in the broader sense of the project, or what's being worked on and the requirements of what's being worked on. So fundamentally, switch mode power supplies, you get more current. They tend to be lighter than linear power supplies. Linear power supplies for high current, need a chunky transformer. So you actually, with a switching power supply, you get space savings, additional output drive, and a higher efficiency. All things being equal. And most of the time, all things are not equal. But so we have a couple examples. Actually, this power supply right here was a power supply fixed in a previous video. This is actually a switching supply. This is about as simple a power supply as you can get. This was a prototype board that I was doing. I haven't shrunk it yet. But this is a power supply that I was working on to replace possibly a D battery in a DMM. So it could tap off the mains power, run the ohm circuit so you'd never have a battery, never have leakage again. So this is about as simple as a power supply gets. Transformer, bridge rectifier. It's actually set up for small capacitance into the larger capacitor, and then also a single, whether I wanted it to be single-ended or full-wave rectified. It ended up doing better full-wave rectified into the bulk filter. Coming out of the bulk filter into the pass element for regulation. This is a linear regulator, another filtering capacitor, and then 1.5 volts out. And I asked this power supply to deliver, I believe it was 100 milliamps of current. And that actually turned out to be a bit of a challenge. The other thing with power supply design is you want the bulk filters before the pass element, not after the pass element. Because a lot of times with power supplies and noise, more filtering equals more better. Not always. The filtering needs to be put in the right positions in circuit. The filtering, if you get too much filtering, you can actually burn out transformers. You can burn out diode packs due to inrush and surge current. And there's couple of monitors I had a while ago, the big CRT monitors. They buzzed for about 30 seconds while it started up when you turned it on from cold. Part of that was current limiting for the inrush to keep from burning out the diode. So if you put too much capacitance on the outside, you can stress the transformer, stress the rectifier. Much more critical in tube gear, less critical in solid state gear. Tends to be a little more forgiving, or the diodes could pass more current than a vacuum tube rectifier could, but it's still a problem. Put too much capacitance and it won't immediately blow up, but as you click the device on and off a few times, it can take out the rectifiers. So that is a design consideration. This guy right here, in terms of size, this is a switching transformer that, if I remember correctly, this came out of a 1,000 watt UPS. So this is a 1,000 watt switching transformer, 1,000 VA, and this powered one of the computer stations here in the lab until some of the active components blew up, but the transformer was good, so I saved it. And so we can see, to get 1,000 watts out of a linear supply, we need a box about yay big. To put this into perspective, oh God, this is heavy. That is a 1,000 watt transformer So that's a 1000 VA transformer. This is a 1000 VA switching transformer. So not even close in the size comparison. And this box is not an understatement. Probably about this much is circuitry, but the back 2/3 of this enclosure, from about here to here, it's all one giant toroid. That's all that's in here. One toroid and a couple outputs. That's all this thing is. This is actually one of the isolation transformers here in the lab. This is what I use on the bench with the current limited power supply. I've made up some cords that'll go in the front of this, and we've done the necessary things we need to do to make this an isolation transformer, and it works very, very, very well. But there's some gravity in here. This is quite heavy. You can see, I can't even pick it up at this angle. Here's the bolt that goes through the center of the toroid. It is isolated from the chassis, so it's not a short turn. So, switching transformer, whereas this is a 200 watt power supply, 0 to 60 volts, up to 10 amps. Doesn't do 60 volts at 10 amps. That would be a 600 watt supply. But it will do, I believe, 20 volts at 10 amps, I think, if I remember its spec sheet right. So on a switching supply, we get better power efficiency, less heat, less weight, and smaller. So especially if you're designing something, say, for modern usage, things like that, nothing linear is going to pass Energy Star or any of the compliancy things that might need to be done for a product that's mass produced. On the bench, one-off products, cosmically speaking, kind of doesn't matter. You will take a little bit of a power penalty, whereas it's probably not the lowest current draw power supply you can possibly make, but a linear would do fine. And there are some things where even this is new build, and I'm making a linear supply as opposed to a switching supply, simply because I actually didn't want the switching noise in the highly sensitive DMM. Electrically, switching power supplies tend to be slightly noisier. They run on square waves. Typically what will happen is there'll be a driving element that'll, out of some bulk filters, will drive this switching transformer, and then that'll wake up the rest of the supply. And depending on how those are shielded, things like that, those can be quite noisy. With an AM radio and an antenna, you can sweep it around things, and you can actually hear the buzzing harmonics picked up in the AM radio. So they can be electrically and voltage-wise noisy on the output. Obviously, more capacitance will filter some of that. However, we've had switching supplies for a very, very, very long time. I was actually really, really surprised, and this is going to be a future video, so foreshadowing. I actually have to do some more work on the 5345A, because I was doing an experiment, roughly, to see if I needed to rebuild the power supplies or anything like that. Well, it's had some startup issues and things like that, so it is going to need a recap and a rebuild. But here's one of the power supplies out of that frequency counter. Now, that is a very, very old frequency counter, the 5345, and we have two switching transformers. These blocks are actually switching transformers in that frequency counter. So we've had switching power supplies for quite some time. A lot of people will recognize my trusty 7603. This is a linear power supply. Nice, big, heavy on the back end. You pick it up and the scope kind of falls this way because the transformer's in the backside. But if I go right next to it to the 4-bay mainframe, the 7854, we have a switching power supply in here. So typically on the 7K frames, regardless of their age, the 3-bay's got a linear supply, the 4-bay's got a switching supply. So we've had switching supplies for quite a while, and those switching supplies have been used in very precise pieces of equipment, high dollar gear. So there's no reason really not to use them, repair them, or fix them. Taking a look at some of the other supplies on the bench, all of the supplies here are linear supplies, and this is what I do a lot of prototyping with for various reasons. and each one of these supplies actually serves a different function. These two are general purpose supplies. This is a dual rail supply that makes op amps pretty easy. That's a high voltage supply, goes up to 100 volts on this one, and I typically use that for charging and testing UPS batteries. Some of the UPSs that I work on have 48 volt and 72 volt battery kits. So I charge them up on that, let it charge for a while, throw them on the load, and make sure the batteries can actually sustain voltage for a reasonable amount of time, just to kind of check the age of the batteries, see what I have to do. This supply is a supply I've had for a very, very, very long time, and it's one of the gruntiest supplies that I actually have here in the lab. It's a 0 to 30, and it'll do 5 amps, but it'll do 5 amps into a short, and it'll do that all day long. It doesn't care. It'll buzz, the fan will kick on, you'll hear the transformer humming into saturation, but this is a monstrously heavy power supply for its size, but it'll do a full 5 amps into a dead short all day long. So if I need something that I need to put power to and I really don't trust it, that power supply has seen abuse and still keeps going. I've had that power supply going on 20 years, I think. That one's actually very, very old. I'm going to end up with a couple more of these at some point, but this is the exotic supply in the lab. This one actually is also a linear power supply and is a battery simulator. So it can actually simulate batteries. It can take reverse voltage and charging and things like that, and it can actually... you hook up your device under test to this, and I can make it have a small battery, a large battery, and I can play around with battery parameters without actually playing around with lithium batteries or anything like that, and it'll simulate a recharge as long as the recharge current's less than an amp. It can only sync an amp, but then it'll track up and it'll track down. So niche power supply. It is a good, highly stable power supply, also a linear power supply, but it is a very niche piece of kit that I use every once in a while when needed. So nowadays, switching power supplies are definitely here to stay. It's one of the ways we're getting efficiency out of power conversion in a couple of, especially on mass-produced equipment. So unless you're specifically going for like a bench power supply with a linear supply, I don't think much of anything is coming that would be new that doesn't have a switcher in it. I'd be shocked if this frequency counter didn't have a switcher in it. One of the things switching supply-wise is the Tech 500 frames. The 500 series has linear supplies. The 5000 series has switchers in all of them. So there is some stuff like the SG505s that I prefer to keep those in a linear frame as opposed to a switcher. But even the frequency function generators and stuff like that, most of my function generators here in the lab have switching supplies in them. The frequency counter has switching supply in it. So switching supplies we're not going to get away from, and they are here to stay. Whether we like it or not, we're going to have to work on them and move forward. They do tend to be a little bit more complex, but they're smaller, lighter, get more power out of them. I can get small power bricks about that tall that'll do amps of current, where if I needed that in a linear, it just wouldn't happen. So is one better than the other? Again, highly situational. But since this is primarily, at least for what we've been doing so far, has been primarily repair, I'm stuck with what was engineered. Thanks for stopping by the lab and taking a look at this quick discussion on power supplies, both linear and switching. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below, whether you prefer linear or prefer switching, or are just stuck with what we have in 2025. Once again, thank you to the patrons who help make this channel possible and help keep the lights on here in the lab. And if you like what you see, hit all the YouTube buttons, like, share, and subscribe, and hang around. I read all the comments in between all the videos, so hit me up in the comments section, and we'll get the discussion started. With that, as always, more's on the way. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you in the next video.